I've just popped down to pick some soft fruit, the raspberries, and just to have a look at some of the tayberries as well, see how they're getting on. As you can see, there's quite a variety of different ripening up going on with these raspberries, and this is the best crop we've had from this set of raspberries. In order to contain them, basically I've just put lots of stakes around them, and as you can see, I've tied around them, and they're also spreading like triffids around here, so only the ripest of the ripes will make it to the kitchen. On the other side of the raspberries I've got my tayberries. As you can see, they're much more elongated, and these ones is when you are working along doing your allotmenting, and it's you eat them on the hoof. So these are ripening along. They're not quite ready yet though, a bit too firm to the touch. Blackcurrants are already ripening up very nicely, and over the last couple of weeks have been down, and already made some nice pots of jam. It's also nice to just put them on, spread them over your porridge. Oh, someone singing a nice little song there in the background. Oh, he's enjoying a little medley up there, isn't he? Oh, and that elder there. Earlier on the videos we showed you how we pruned our gooseberries, and so they seem to have responded. This is the first time this one's been producing a crop, a very young gooseberry plant. It's on its third year, and these are Hinamakis. They start off looking as if they're going to be very green, and then slowly they start to turn red. Now, for some reason, we've found that the red Hinamakis, or red gooseberries in general, here are far more disease resistant than other varieties. Don't know why, but they are. And these ones have yet to ripen up. One of the most disease resistant of my apples have been these types here, which are Granny Smiths, and despite others being failures, Granny Smiths seem to hold up very well against the insect attacks, and so this one should give me another very decent crop this year, along with I've got another Granny Smith as well, so very pleased with how they're getting on so far this year. This will be the first crop of russets as well on this dwarf fruit stock as well here. On the other side of the plot here we've got some more raspberries. I planted these myself from 3 very small plants which I got. They came from Poundland actually. As you can see, the red currants seem to be doing quite well, ripening up okay, plenty of trusses on these. Incidentally, quite a few of these were sold to me as being white currants. So, you know, I was a bit gullible enough to buy them. I only got some white currants recently, which I've put on the other side. And as you can see, I've done the same as last year and put plenty of netting around. I just use these little plastic bags as bird scarers, basically. But they are very clever wood pigeons. They'll find any way getting in to this bed. But I'll talk about that in another vid, basically, about how we've managed the soft fruits. This is a state of what most of the red currants are looking like at my plot here, which is the Midlands, the UK. They're just slowly ripening up, which is quite useful to me because they won't all be ready at once. As you can see, there are some of them ahead of the others. The idea is it's a race against the wood pigeons, although I have used netting, as I'll show you. Here is some of the netting on one side, and any of the ones that have fallen down, I just throw them outside of the netting. That's for the hungry wood pigeons to come along. They are very resourceful, wood pigeons that is. And here we have the current state of 4 yams, 1, 2, 3, 4, and in the foreground we've got tomatillos. I've put these all over the place. They might need some stakes actually, I'm not sure. They look a bit yellow because they were sort of planted out in the middle of the floods that we had, which have only just sort of dried up really. So this year, being the first year these haven't been treated with the comfrey tea, we've just used ordinary tomato feed on these and snipped off any of these long leaders on these blackberries. You see when they throw out a long leader, because they grow on the current year's crop, so you can nip that out. So hopefully, basically what you're looking for, oops, it went then, you've got this, you should have just the flowers with your berries then. So hopefully some nice blackberries, which will taste nice with just the tomato fertiliser on them. My red champagne, Canadian red, and Valentine rhubarb have absolutely loved the rain and the floods. So if everything does get flooded, rhubarb absolutely has thrived in this very heavy rain. And these three I thought had lost them. Having two different varieties of apples which are good cross-pollinators has helped in this instance. Here we have some Bramleys, and these didn't give me much of a crop last year, but then I did start the pruning programme, so also thanks to advice from others on the tube. And thinning out, because next to it is a good variety of apple which has been cross-pollinating it, as you can see here, which has again benefited because they do come into flower at almost identical times of the year, and not all apple varieties do sort of fall into that, but luckily this has worked out well for me for these particular two trees, and not been successful with all of them, but this should give me a decent crop. As you can see, there's a lot more apples. Even it's only a dwarf rootstock, but it's really quite heavily laden already, and we've had the June drop already, so might need a bit of thinning out after that. Some of the pear trees have been much happier this year, so I'm pleased about that as well. This is one variety that's done extremely well. Having plenty of wild flowers has been good as well to attract those bumblebees onto your plot. So it's not all about the fruit, is it? Here we have a nice bunch of the English lavender. Just doing a bit of weeding on it at the moment. It's done very well this year, very aromatic this time of evening, beautiful. You can see behind me is a big long line of raspberries. These were planted by me 5 years ago, inherited them right from the bottom of the plot, but with them came today's bumper crop. As you can see, they're not quite ripe at the moment. They're much smaller than the Dutch varieties of raspberries. May well have been on this plot for decades, being strangled, but let's see what the bumper crop's got us today. Bumper crop reveal. I bet you're all dying to see what I've got today. And here it is. Dun, 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 dun. Massive crop. Look at this. Best ever bindweed. Have you ever had a crop like this before? Put a message in if you've ever had a crop. Let's look at this. It's brilliant, isn't it? I'm really chuffed to bits with this. Of course, these came with the raspberries. Every time I planted one raspberry from the bottom of the plot, I've got 3 of these with it underneath the roots, and you cannot get rid of it. Hope you enjoyed seeing the crop of bindweeds, 2019, year of the bindweed, amongst other things. But every time we're coming down at the moment in June, this is what we're harvesting. Among the raspberries, as you can see, there's a few strawberries there, and tending to our other proteges down here, mostly under nets if it's greens here, unless you want it to be eaten by wood pigeon, slug or caterpillar. It's how it goes, I'm afraid. So, good evening to you all. Till next time, it's Mike and his bumper crop.